guys, it's Kaz here, and today I'm doing my April wrap up. So in April I kind of unwittingly joined in Indie April. So at the end of May, that's not the right one. So at the end of March I kind of decided for myself that I wanted to read indie books because, you know, quarantine and that, indie authors probably need all the reviews and the people reading it more than other authors, you know. And then I put my TBR out and apparently Indie April was a thing. So there you go. I took part. So I read quite a few books in April. Most of them were indie. I did read a few that weren't, but all the ones that weren't were actually comics and graphic novels, which I didn't really realise until I just had a look. So let's just get into it. So the first book I read in April was Teeth by Zaya Feli, and I also read Claws a bit later in the month, but I thought I might as well put them together because it's a duology. So this was such a fun time. It's Viking, Scandinavia, cool powers, and even cooler raven familiars. So in here, basically, this god wolf is killed by someone, one of our main characters, and he gets a mark on him, and the village he lives in thinks that he's cursed and that bad things happen because of him. So he's trying to figure out what that's all about. There's another character that's also a main character that was stolen from his lands, and then he ended up somewhere else, and then he was stolen from there, and then he ended up somewhere else, and he's just kind of been thrown about. And then the third main character is from across the sea, and he wants to get the wolf god because his father thinks that it will help him, because obviously powerful and gods and all that business. So that's the basic, very, very basic premise. But the thing in here that's cool, or one of the things, there's many cool things. I gave them both 5 stars, that's rare for me. But one of the cool things in here is the magic system. So they use runes and they have to hold the runes and use the power. But some people can use the runes and actually like create magic, and then other people can only be a power tap for magic. And I really enjoyed the fact that they showed how different people treat the ones that are like the power source. So in some villages they're treated amazingly, like if it weren't for them you wouldn't have any powers there. The ones that are powering all the runes, you need to treat them well and give them good places to live and food and stuff. Other places treating them like batteries that they can just drain and kill and just grab the next one whenever I need more magic. So I enjoyed that. Also, like I said, the best raven familiar ever is in this book. She's amazing. I love her. I love animals in books anyway, and this will not disappoint because she's like one of the best characters. Also great rep in here with the main characters. We have 2 that are gay, 1 that is asexual. There's also a female-female romance in the background. And yeah, there's cool fight scenes. The characters are cool. One of the side characters I really enjoyed because he just likes spinning tales, and I very much would sit round a fire and listen to him spin tales. 10 out of 10, definitely would do that. It's just a great time. And if I'm just chatting absolute bollocks, which I probably will do for all of these, I have reviewed all of the indie books on Goodreads. My link's down below. Check my proper reviews out if you want actual, you know, coherent thoughts. Next up, I read Notice Me Yet by Anita Sunday. This was a little novella on my Kindle. It was alright. I gave it like 3 stars. It's basically about a guy who puts up a notice because he needs a new flatmate, and then he starts giving notes, swapping notes between him and this mystery ex-guy. And 3 people come and view the flat. One of them is the mystery guy, and it's him trying to figure out which one of them is the one. It's like a romance. And it's just like a cute romance, small novella. Not amazing, not great, not horrible. It's a fun read. Next up, if you don't know, in England it's been fucking amazing weather this whole lockdown. There's been like 3 days of rain recently at the end of April, but most of April was just absolutely smashing. So I spent a nice few hours sat outside in my garden in the sun and read through Fence Volume 1, 2 and 3. The first one was a reread, the other 2 I hadn't read before, and it's just a great time. I love this series. I'm just a fan of sports in general in books for some reason. The artwork's great. Let me just grab one page. Oh, you get a little naked chest there. As if I picked the page with the flipping duck on. But yeah, it's basically a college, people at college doing fencing. That's the storyline, but it's great. Next, I read Zeno by Nathan Kuzak. This was sent to me by the author. I read one of his other books and enjoyed it, and then he sent me this one. And this is a sci-fi alien-y artifact on a ship type of business. So This follows a skeleton crew on a big ship. There's like 50,000 cryogenically frozen peeps on the ship, and then every 3 months a small selection of like 12 of the people are unfrozen, and they're the skeleton crew on the ship. They're not really needed because the ship's like super clever and has all of its AI business, but they're there. And like the day or the day after this small fleet of people are awoken, there's this weird alien artifact that's in their way, their travel way. So they bring it onto the ship, and then bad stuff ensues. So it's quite a slow burn. I liked it because it was like creepy, and then oh, something's going off over here, and now someone's dead. And then it was kind of oh, something's going on over here. Oh look, somebody else is dead. So it was, I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't just like pachow straight away. You had time to think, what the crap is going on? It's quite horror-y because the thing, the alien thing, the way it's getting people, it like preys on people's fears and weaknesses. So obviously there's a lot of like crazy weird shit going on. Also, side note, I just picked this up, and another asexual character. I read Teeth with an asexual character, and then Zeno randomly had a main character that's asexual as well. You never see them represented, and then two come along at once like a bus. Is that bad? Saying asexuals are like buses? You know what I mean though, you don't see it very often. But content warning, because obviously the alien thing does stuff that people don't like, and the main character is asexual, so you know, I'm just going to leave that with you so you can kind of guess what it's trying to do with him. So yeah, and also body horror. It's kind of gruesome, but it's good. I don't have a lot of experience reading sci-fi, but I enjoyed it. Next up, I buddy read Ghost Songs by Andrew Demkak with R over at R Jensen, and I enjoyed this one. It was very much not what I was expecting. The back doesn't really say a lot of what this story is about. So basically, again, content warnings right here while I do this. This primarily is about the main character's best friend getting groomed by an adult and being forced into sex, so you know, not what it says on the back. But yeah, it's about a kid, and then him and his best friend have a ghost that's also their friend, and it's about them, this ghost, just school stuff and obviously bad stuff. There's also just some weird ass stuff that goes on, and the only downfall of this was the ending. I feel like some of the strings were wrapped up too quickly in like one sentence, and some of the strings were kind of just ignored. But if you want to read my full review, check out Goodreads because they make more sense. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was different from what I thought it was. The ending let it down a little bit, but overall it was an enjoyable read. Next up, I read Perfect World by Shari Sakuri. This is a superhero, like enemies to lovers, gay superheroes with the government that are bad type of deal. So basically you got the good guy, superhero guy, the evil villain guy, and something happens and they have to kind of come together. And it's one of those sort of dystopian where, is the guy, the bad guy, really a bad guy, or is the government portraying him as worse than he is? Are they the bad guy? The governments are always the bad guy. But yeah, this one, I enjoyed the story of what it was trying to say. I did think the romance happened too quickly. I would have liked more of like anger. You know, if someone's your villain and your enemy and they've been your enemy for a long time, I would have liked more of like the characters hating each other, but really is it hate or are they just portraying lust? But it was kind of, it went too fluffy too quickly for them being at odds for so many years trying to kill each other. So that was one thing I thought could have been done better. But the ending had a really cool twist, and I liked the way that like virtual reality was brought into it as well. So yeah, check it out if that sounds interesting to you. Next up, I read No Big Deal by Danny Keane. This is the second book, kind of. So basically the first book is a novella. It's really short, it's like 40 pages or something, and then this as a full book is kind of the second book. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy this as much as the novella. The novella actually made me cry reading it, and that's hard because normally novellas don't really grasp my interest as easy as books because you have less time to like get attached to the characters, etc. But this one basically is about this teenage dude, and his dad's just died of cancer, so he's dealing with that, and then he's dealing with his boyfriend and figuring out whether he wants to go off to college, and just his family life, his mum, his sister. I think one of the best things about this book was the sibling relationship, because they were always bantering and like taking the piss out of each other, and I very much enjoyed that because that is very siblingy. But I felt like too much emphasis was put on the sexual part of him and his boyfriend's relationship. Literally like 30 pages in, there were fingers in bums, let's just say that. And I was like, at least let me get to know you first, calm the fuck down, you know? And I felt like I wanted to see more of the emotion. Your dad's died, you know? Give me that emotion. You're worried about your relationship, give me that emotion. You like your relationship, give me that emotion. Show me that these two characters like each other in a way that doesn't have to be just sex, because that's not a loving relationship, that's just lust, you know what I mean? So I was kind of let down by the fact that a lot of it was just emphasis on they were either having sex or wanting to have sex or arguing. And also there was a few very questionable parts in this book where the main character was like trying to kiss his boyfriend or touch his boyfriend. His boyfriend was like, I don't want to do that, and he's like, oh come on, you know, it's iffy, do not do that. At one point his boyfriend says, oh I just want to cuddle, and then the main character says, oh but you know what I'm like, I'll want more than cuddling. And I'm like, no bitch, your boyfriend wants cuddling, shut the fuck up and cuddle him. Don't be telling him, oh no, you know I'll want more, because that is not the best. It kind of got better towards the end, but yeah, it's kind of a letdown because I enjoyed the novella so much before that. Next up I read The Midnight Gardener and The Well of Tears by R.G. Thomas. This is the first and second book in a series, and it was alright. I would say it reads kind of middle grade. The main character is 14, I do believe, so it is kind of on the cusp, but it was alright. It was enjoyable. It's just like a fantasy. This kid and his dad moves into a house, and then next door there's this person that's always gardening at night, hence the Midnight Gardener, and that person is a gnome, and him and the gnome start going out. So yeah, there's a gay relationship with the main guy and a gnome, but it's done in a really like cute little way, because like I say, it reads more like a middle grade. So because of that, the story's not very complex. I mean, this is how big it is, and this is 2 books, you know what I mean? So that kind of shows you. But it was enjoyable. It was nothing special, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. The twists were kind of obvious, but obvious in a way that I didn't mind. It's just a fun read. It did take me quite a while to read, to be honest, but I think that was just me being in a mindset of not reading because I've read so much this month. So yeah, it's enjoyable. I have the last book in this series as well, so I'm sure I'll read that at some point. There's gnomes and dragons and wizards and witches and trolls, all the good stuff. So if you like fantasy and you want something kind of easy reading, I guess it works for you. Next up I have The Illusion by DJ Cooper. This is a novella that's part of the Bulwark anthology. That anthology includes one of my sister's books, just saying, pick it up. So this is set in this Bulwark town, which is the setting of another book, and then all the anthology books set in the same town kind of thing. And the main premise is there's this weird green gloopy stuff, and then creepy weird stuff ensues when you're near it or in it or whatevs. And in this one it's like, is it a different dimension? Are you dreaming? Are you just a little bit, has it made your head go all weird? Is it something evil? So towards the end I kind of like this book, but unfortunately the writing was really subpar for me. Check out my review because I actually left like big chunks of some of the paragraphs and explained why I didn't like it. But it just read like somebody that hasn't really found their writing way yet. The sentences, when they're all the same length, and it just sounds like a robot explaining things too much. Just the way sentences were structured, it's hard to explain in a video like this, and I don't want to like literally read out parts of it, but check out my review. So unfortunately I gave it 2.5 stars, 2 stars on Goodreads, because it just let the book down a lot. It was such a slog to get through the first half of this book because of the writing. It was so clunky. So yeah, unfortunately. But like the last third of it I kind of enjoyed. I I feel like the writing got better. The storyline was weird and creepy. But that can't make up for the first half of it and the lack of nuance. And then sort of 2 days before the end of April, I thought I should probably read more stuff on my 2020 TBR because I didn't want this whole indie reading to let down my TBR reading. So I picked up some easy ones just to get them off. First up, I read Fables Volume 1. This is set in New York in like a tower block where all the fairy tale and fable-y type creatures live. So the main characters are the big bad wolf and Snow White, and then you see a whole host of characters, and it's a murder mystery, this one is, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely want to pick up the rest of them. I like the way the characters are created, like you know that they are those specific characters but they've got their own things going on. For example, Prince Charming in here, he is very charming but he's just like broke, got nowhere to live, and he just uses his charm to try and get somewhere to crash and try and get money off people because he's just a bit shit, you know? Here's a sort of artwork in here. It's not my favourite kind, but it was really engaging when I was reading it, so it definitely works with the story. And then the last thing I read was Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley, and this was such a great read. All I knew about this was it was about a chef in some way, but I love how magical it was and all these different timelines going on and the characters and the art. Here's just a bit of an example of the art in here. Also, side note, it has the weirdest dust jacket ever because it doesn't even fit the book, but look how pretty the book is. And I love the fact that the narrator was like fourth wall breaking, so he was narrating and then the main character was like, no, I'm not doing that, and it's just fun and cute and you should read it. So yeah, those were some things, mostly indie reads, that I read in April. Like I mentioned before, definitely go check out my Goodreads, add me as a friend if you haven't already. If you want to read like proper actual reviews for these that make sense, let me know down below what you read in April, if any of these books sound interesting, if you read any of these, possibly the comics and graphic novels, but maybe not the other bits. Let me know down below. If this is your first video by me and you enjoy it, and please check out some of the others, and if you continue to enjoy, then please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I will see you in a few days with another video.